the approval of the public workshop meeting held on June 1st. I always forget something. See, I told you, Matt, I'm going to forget something. We'll have roll call.
Anthony Lepsonsky.
Here.
Kenneth Hall.
Present.
Bonnie Allman.
Here.
Trevor Stone will be absent. Ronald Glassick.
Here.
Judith Haldeman.
Here.
Jason Donahue will be absent. Julie Kutzler.
Here.
Mayor Anthony Pristash.
Present.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
I have look to approve the minutes of the public workshop meeting held on June 1st, 2023,
So
and the
moved.
regular public meeting. What was that, Keith?
Motion.
Okay. Oh, I gotta finish reading it. Held on
We're
June
moving you
15th,
along.
2023.
Second.
Motion, motion made by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Lepsonsky. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Question? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those against? The ayes have it. Hearing of persons present. Come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Chad Gerstenberg, 1708 Northampton Avenue, here in Northampton. Appreciate you guys coming here and, well, not coming here, but listening to me talk about whatever we're going to talk about, which is the softball stuff. I know that there is a lot of misunderstanding and things along those lines about what is actually an issue down there or what equipment we're using, things along those lines. I am here to address whatever questions the board has. I will, without misrepresentation of anything, gladly talk on behalf of the league about what we have. So I know that one of the big issues is home runs that are going on down at Canal Street. I can tell you that people are not just hitting home runs solely to hit home runs. Each game is limited to 3 home runs per team, so they are very important. On top of which, the other issue that has been brought up to me has been equipment. So I have actually brought some that I literally just stopped down at Canal Street and took from one of our teams, which is not my team that's playing there. I am one of the home teams there, so I play there regularly. We have ASA certified balls and bats, so I don't know if anybody actually wants to see them. They're stamped, which is why I brought them. I don't know if, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yep.
But there's, I'm familiar with the softball bats and baseball bats and stuff. So there's certain levels on them, you know, the minus ratings and so you can control that by saying that you want a lesser, I don't know what, if it's minus, yeah. The minuses and stuff like that, can you not put that in your league to lower the bat capability?
So the short answer is yes. The long answer is no. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is the league I'm representing, is a co-ed softball league. So in order to do that, we use the same balls and bats for women and men. And with that, if that were the case, we would have 2 women in the entire league that would ever hit a ball outside of the infield. So they would be an automatic out, which would essentially eliminate women being part of a co-ed league.
And understandable, but then let the girls use the bat that's juiced up, if you wanna say, and make the guys use a wooden bat. I
And
mean,
that
there's
would
wooden
go-
bat leagues and even hardball.
That would go against the standards of ASA softball. So the equipment we use for our insurance is ASA certified.
Chad, after you hit 3 home runs, if you hit another home run, what happens?
It's an out.
Okay, so does the person have, from then on, see you every 3 home runs, would he just swing it more level then, or are they just?
That is dependent upon the person. Softball is no different than Major League Baseball
Right.
when it comes to that. It's not like Aaron Judge from the Yankees comes up and hits a home run every single time he
Sure.
comes up. It's all controlled. We're not professional athletes. This is a co-ed recreational league. So we're just normal people out there playing softball, being physically active and out in a community, in a park that allows us to play, which is, by all honesty, few and far between in the Lehigh Valley in general anymore.
You did, Chad and I spoke, he was certainly the one who shared the most information with me, and I apologize, obviously I got it wrong. I thought you told me 2 home runs, so 3, obviously my
I
error.
did, but I was under the, I misunderstood
Oh, okay,
that, that's a different league that I
Okay.
play in, that is 2 home runs, yes. This league is 3 home runs, to correct that.
Okay, but you had indicated that they're just our I'd like them to hear, you say there are some gentlemen that just play, that just have the ability, they're gonna whack that ball.
This is no different than any other sport. Athletes are athletes, and there are, let's face it, there's, I hate to say it like this, but there's not a single woman that has hit a home run over this fence down at Canal Street at all this year, nor will there be. The guys we have that hit them are typically 6 foot plus, 280 plus pound individuals that are just capable, that's a role that they fill. And it comes down to game importance, other people on base, things along those lines. But yes, there are individuals in this league that are just capable of being physical monsters and hitting a ball a very long way, regardless of what ball or bat they're using.
So what's the reason that the fields that you're able to use are becoming few and far between, and the difference of this?
A lot of that has far less to do with,
I mean, what are they doing that we're not doing, or whatever, to do that?
by few and far between, so let me clarify that statement. That statement is not about being regulated softball out of the area. Softball, I mean, I hate to say it, it's a dying sport. There's not a whole lot of people that are 25 and over that want to play softball anymore. So a lot of the community-based fields are now transitioning to things such as soccer, lacrosse, and they're moving those fields to those purposes and eliminating the softball fields in general. So it's not due to a lack of fields being available because of things teams are doing. It is a lack of availability of fields because those fields no longer exist.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I have a question. That ball is listed as USA certified. Is that different than ASA certified?
USA and ASA, honestly, I believe they're 2 separate organizations, but they accept each other's organizational
In
capabilities.
other words, the standards are the same?
Yes.
That would serve as an ASA certified
Correct.
softball? Okay.
Thank you,
Now-
Mr. Gersten.
Yeah, so
Okay.
one other thing, I have proposed other changes when me and
Judy.
Judy, I was gonna say Miss Altman,
No,
but,
don't need to.
have talked. So there, some of the changes that could be made, and I have personally put a lot of work into that field down there over the last decade to continue to make it playable for us. So, listen, our league is not above and beyond helping out in this endeavor. So, 2 of the suggestions I would personally suggest for the most fiscally responsible changes would be to flip-flop the baseball and softball field. That would put our power hitters, in order to hit it out of the park, they would have to be right-handed hitters. We have maybe one of them in the entire league that could actually do that. On top of which, there's not a whole lot of home runs being hit on the Legion, I believe it's the Legion field to begin with. So that wouldn't adjust their playing at all. The other instance I would have is to actually move, which would be more cost, would be more of a cost to the borough, would be to move home plate where it is, to where that tree was up on the upper end of the parking lot. And that way, the home runs would either go over the fence into the baseball field for a left-handed hitter or over the walkway for right-handed hitters. At which point, you could actually take the net that is along Canal Street now on the street side, trying to prevent those home runs, and move that over the walkway, so nobody on the walkway would actually get hurt.
Thank you for your suggestions. I'm glad you came. It's not an armchair quarterback when you come with ideas, so I like that. Thank you.
No, we've been here very long. I've grown up and raised in this borough. My grandparents owned that house with the garage down there right across the street from Canal Street. So I grew up watching my dad and everybody else for my entire life play sports in the borough. And it's one thing I don't want to see die in the borough is sports. It's one thing our community actually rallies around, and I would like to keep it that way. So between that, I'm always open to whatever communication anybody wants. Again, we're glad to help. But by all means, reach out, and I will gladly help in whatever capacity I or the league can help out.
Are those baseball, sorry, one more question. Are the lengths of the bases the same if you flip-flop it? As they run in softball as it is in junior league?
No, softball and baseball are
That's a lot
different,
of
but
difference.
I don't know if they still pin, I don't know if the Legion Field pins their bases in. That was one of the,
I don't think they do.
Probably not because of broken legs and things.
do they stake them in yet? So one of the differences we made several years ago as a league, we got borough approval to do it, was to put in pin bases, safety bags.
Yeah.
So we actually dropped pins in at the league cost in order to put those safety bags in. Again, we're not above and beyond improving anything for borough residents or whatever the case may be. We'd like to continue to be able to play and help out and progress people that still want to play softball in general.
Thank you for your suggestions, Mr. Gerstenberg.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chad.
Anyone else? Moving on. Item number 3, approve the minutes of the public workshop. We did that, hearing of persons present. Resolution number 623.
Resolution 6-23 was prepared by our engineer and reviewed by our solicitor. This will establish ADAIRE Court as an ordained public road. And we can add it to our liquid fuels.
What is the opinion of the council?
Let it be written.
By Mr. Lipsonsky. Second,
Second.
and Mr. Hall. Question?
Where is it there, Court?
It is
Leader Price.
down the lower end of town. If you go on 8th Street from Howardtown Road till you get to Adair Street, if you turn left, it then becomes Adair Court and goes down into the new development.
Okay, thank you.
Very far from your.
It's right behind
That's by
yeah, now I forgot.
Where Laird Bromiller used to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
That clears it
Well,
up for me
that's everything
completely.
I said.
So you can come up from the side of the dump and you go up along the side of the hill there.
Right.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? The ayes have it. Next, moving on to our president's report. Since I no longer give an opinion afterwards, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our code office and our staff for staying on top of our weed problem. You all had a report. You have a report from the code office, okay? They've been working diligently trying to get the blight under control in the borough, which includes vehicles on property that are not licensed or inspected, indoor furniture and debris on front porches, tree and shrubbery blocking the intersections, plus all the rental ordinance 1207 inspections. We recognize that this is a busy time of the year for code, and we've taken notice of the good job that you're doing. Once again, I want to thank the code office. End of my report. Mayor's report.
Thank you. As you can see across the street, Community Days is well underway, the 42nd annual, and kudos to the Exchange Club for putting together yet another successful event which brings the community together. I had the good fortune to open the Community Days event yesterday. Council Councilwoman Haldeman and Councilman Glassick were there to cheer me on, I know. And you can see people already coming down to the park well before 6 o'clock. So there's a feeling around town that this is a great event, and although the Exchange Club, like many clubs, is dwindling in membership and size, I hope we get more people out to join clubs like that in this town and continue the good work that they do. I know they serve this community well and the borough itself through their charitable donations and their great great way of identifying needs in this borough. Secondly, I'd like to give a shout out to Reverend Jerry Mraz for, at 90 years old, his passion and persistence with the perfection of the Monarch Butterfly Station. It's been a great endeavor from everything I've seen, and he is just so passionate about it and extending it and getting more people involved in this town. So I'm very happy to see the collaboration between the Reverend and the borough and everyone else he is culling together to help this cause that he's doing. I have an issue I'm working on right now. I just want to let you know that by the next meeting I want to present it. I've always said I'd like to see our 1.4 miles of the Delaware Rail Trail, the most picturesque area there, and to that end, replicating what the Reverend did, but all the way down through the park. That's going to require Borough Council approval. So what I'd like to do is get the information together. I'm already have a meeting set up with Building Land and Recreation Chair, Ms. Haldeman, and pass it by council then to get some feedback on the idea to keep this going where we can have people in town who want to do something down at the park. I know my family, the Pristash family, grew up on Canal Street. The house is still there right across from the park. I'm sure Councilman Obzonsky knows many a person that lived down there, grew up in the river, in the park. I mean, to the day my dad died, he said he still had Lehigh River water in his ears. So it's something that I'd like to see continued. And thank you, Reverend Mraz, for lighting the fire and helping us get that moving along. So that's all I have, and thank you, Council President Putzler. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Solicitors report?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to reports from committees. Starting with Mr. Hall, Administration and Finance.
Thank you. It's hard to believe, but within 2 months, preparation for the 2024 budget will begin. And those refuse accounts that are currently been delinquent are being sent to Portneuf Law Associates for collection. All in all, the list seems slightly less than in past years. End of report.
Thank you. Ms. Haldeman, Building, Land and Recreation.
Thank you. Community Days preparation and celebration is underway, and don't forget the Fireman's Parade on Saturday, July 22nd at 5:30 p.m. On the third Tuesday of each month, beginning in August, ending in December, Senator Nick Miller will have staff members at the rec center from 9 to 11:30 a.m. They will be available to provide assistance. Can we clarify assistance, Leroy? Just
Yes,
questions, concerns?
clarify assistance.
Assistance of what?
If you have any concerns that would be best directed at or to Senator Miller, he's.
Any population, any age
Yeah,
range,
yeah,
any
there are
resident of the
no
borough?
restrictions that I'm aware of.
And this is residents of the borough? And
Anyone in
beyond,
his
any-
district.
Oh, in his district, okay. That's good to know. And now that we have normal summer temperatures, the swimming pool is packed. On Monday, July 17th, there were over 600 patrons visiting the pool throughout the day. End of report.
Thank you.
You want me to do code and police for Trev?
Mr. Glassick
He's got
is
it?
in
Okay.
Code and Police.
Yep, thank you. Enclosed in the packet is the June code enforcement report. I believe Madam President spoke of it. There was 32 weed cases of grass being above, I guess, 6 inches. And there is a lot more, but they are making headway. Code Enforcement Officer Keith Knobloch reports that there's 96% of the landlords have responded to the registration for their properties. This represents the best response ever. And to give you an idea, that total year-to-date, it was $38,625 for the year-to-date total of that. Many people have received weed notices throughout the borough. Some responded by spraying the weeds and leaving the weeds car grass as they're standing there, but they are making improvement. Thank you. End of report.
Thank you. Ms. Alderman, fire, Ms. Harmon. Hey, how about a hum and hum? Ms. Harmon, fire and health.
Thank you. The Board of Health will not meet during the months of July and August. Their next meeting will be the last Tuesday in September. Health Officer Ted Barisick will be visiting the various vendors operating during community days. The fire department will be placing a container for drop-off of used clothing in the back of their parking lot. This will afford an opportunity for people to recycle unwanted clothing, and the department will receive a share of the proceeds. The fire department held the first summer junior cadet program during the week of July 10th, and it was a great success. And I did see a lot of positive comments on social media. It looked like the kids really had a great time and learned a lot from the fire department. Thank you for that. And they do anticipate repeating it again next year. End of report.
Thank you. Public Works and Sewer, Mr. Glassick.
Thank you. The PPL transformer caught fire outside the Stewart Street pump station. The report was filed with DEP. Because some of the burning materials landed on the pump station's property, PPL arranged to have the hazmat team remediate the area. The crew of Public Works Department has placed over 300 Hometown Hero banners throughout the borough. More orders are still coming in. Please note that the cutoff date for placing these orders is Friday, August 18th, 2023. Thank you, and kudos to the mayor.
Thank you.
End of report.
Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. We have nothing. Under new business.
Originally, I was under the impression that we were going to consider for adoption the agreement on the River Central Comprehensive Plan. I did not attend last week's meeting because I was away. And what I found out from, I'd like to introduce Jillian Seitz and Matt Assad from Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. What I found out is that the agreement does not get adopted first. A resolution has to be passed adopting the plan. This is an opportunity for a public hearing. It's already been properly advertised. Jillian and Matt are here to summarize what is involved. If needs be, they have a PowerPoint presentation, but I think they can sum it up probably better, much better than I could. But they are the ones that can answer any questions that you might have. So Jillian, Matt, floor is yours.
Thank you.
Should I can speak into this, or?
Hey, have a seat.
Oh, okay.
Get comfortable.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. The Lehigh Valley Planning Commission serves as the planning consultants and the project managers for the River Central Plan. And the plan brings together 5 municipalities, Catasauqua Borough, North Catasauqua Borough, Northampton Borough, East Allen Township, and Hanover Township, Lehigh County. So the comprehensive plan would effectively become each of those municipalities' new comprehensive plan. And there are some benefits to creating a joint multi-municipal comprehensive plan. The most substantial being that upon adopting the plan and entering into the implementation agreement, which is an agreement stating that municipalities all agree to implement the plan, then each municipality would no longer need to provide for all land uses within their communities as required by the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. So right now each municipality must plan for all land uses, but as part of a multi-municipal plan, that would consider the entire River Central area and not each individual municipality. So this project kicked off in February of 2021. So over the course of about 2.5 years now, there's been a River Central Steering Committee meeting each and every month to guide the process of this plan. And there's 3 representatives from each municipality that attend those meetings each month. And public engagement is it was a really important to the steering committee and is a really important part of the plan that forms the foundation. So beginning back in February of 2021, the plan has undergone a series of substantial community engagements, beginning with a series of charrettes where stakeholders were identified and brought together to discuss some of the biggest priorities and weaknesses and opportunities in those communities. One of the most substantial opportunities that arose was the parks and recreation system present throughout the area, particularly the trail system. And then just a couple of the weaknesses that were identified were warehousing and truck traffic as a result of that. So following the charrettes, the steering committee also put out a community survey to reach the wider general public. We received substantial input from that, and LVPC attended several music in the parks, little community events in each municipality to distribute postcards linking to the survey, so we had really good participation in that. And then through this public engagement process, some main topics kind of kept emerging that the steering committee wanted to look closer at. So those topics were farmers and farmers markets was a substantial topic, economy and economic development, and then emergency management services. So for each of those topics, we convened a specific subject matter roundtable where experts in those particular topics were invited to speak more directly on issues that they see, and then also talk about some ideas and potential things that should be incorporated in the plan. So those helped inform the plan as well. So through this whole process, it resulted in 6 goals, and most of the plan is made up of chapters of these 6 goals with policies that speak to each of those specific goals, ranging from balancing land use and preservation is the first main goal, a transportation management goal, a farming and farming economy goal, a general quality of life goal, there's a housing goal. I think I might be missing one.
Strength and safe.
Strengthen
Safe,
safe,
healthy,
inclusive,
yeah.
healthy, livable communities,
There you
yes. Yeah. So the plan up until this point, so the first draft of the plan was released back in the fall, this past fall of 2022. Since then, it's been continually reviewed and refined by the steering committee. And then there's been some additional review by, we attended planning commissions for each of the municipalities. So we were at Northampton Borough's planning commission meeting back in January or February of this year. And then following that, there was also a required 45-day review period where the plan was sent to the local school districts involved in the area, all adjacent municipalities surrounding River Central communities, and then the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission also reviewed the plan as the county planning agency. So that review and comment period concluded back in the beginning of July. So this plan is really far along and very close to the end of its process. So we're here tonight to answer any questions you might have, receive any comment through the public hearing process, and then hopefully be back next month to adopt the plan through resolution.
So I have some questions, but I want to make sure Madam
Go
President
ahead.
can ask
Sure, go
through
ahead.
if you want to go through
We'll
the
start
council.
with you. We'll start with you. Where do you
Sure.
want to start?
Can you elaborate a little bit on the enhanced housing opportunities for all? What does that really mean?
Sure.
Because we don't have, I'm thinking this is gonna tie into sewer and public water and all that.
Sure, and I want to preface by saying, so the plan is specifically structured in such a way that the policies and actions would support any efforts the municipalities wish to undertake, but it's not asserting that municipalities must take any particular action steps. And any actions that municipalities decide to take would really depend on your individual circumstances. And so Northampton Borough's character differs even from Catasauqua Borough's character, and certainly differs from Hanover Township's or East Allen's sort of development
Okay.
and character. So the policies and actions are there to support the sentiment that like housing attainability, housing condition, any sorts of endeavors that the borough may wish to pursue would be supported by those actions in that goal.
And, thank you.
Sure.
This has nothing to do with the Nazareth multi-municipality comprehensive plan, it does not?
It's totally separate from that. So
Good.
they formed their own,
Some of the papers have Nazareth on it, that's why I wasn't sure why was Nazareth involved in this.
oh, some of the papers do.
Yeah, so I noticed that on the top it said Nazareth, and I couldn't find Nazareth anywhere in the thing, so just an FYI, if it shouldn't be in theirs, right? They're not involved in this?
It should not be.
All right, it was the 5 that you mentioned.
Mhm.
That
Okay.
was what we printed out, it wasn't the package she gave us.
Oh.
That's what, it was in our packets from, so,
So it was nothing to do with Nazareth,
I
that's
think
fine.
it came from us, yeah.
Second, or third question would be, when you can say about 50 or more lots and units, you again are saying that it's based off of Northampton's EDUs and things that we're using for sewer and water. This has nothing to do with that?
Oh, so for the agreement, I think that might be what you were looking at, the head master.
Okay.
Because that's a draft version
Okay.
of what the agreement may potentially look like after the plan is adopted.
Okay, yeah.
But so in that agreement, it outlines criteria for land uses of regional significance, where if a project is proposed in any municipality that meets those thresholds defined, so in this instance, if it was 50 units,
Mm-hmm.
then that would trigger a review process across municipalities to give other municipalities the opportunity to be notified and then also comment on the proposal, because based on whatever criteria is identified, it implies that that may impact those adjacent municipalities.
Okay, and then describe what you mean by, it says trips, like, is that transportation of trucking, going through the area, stuff like that? Is that what
Yeah.
that is?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, and I can understand that then, and some are larger for bigger areas of land and stuff.
You're sort of on the next step, the
Yes,
intergovernmental
yeah.
agreement's kind of the next.
Well, that's what we were sent, so that's why I had that stuff highlighted on my notes, that's why I wasn't sure when I saw the plan
We're
here.
coming around, it's good that you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And then that's why,
But the pre-adoption packet that you have, kind of is good timing on
okay,
the process.
fine, I'll review that, thank you, that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Obsowski, do you have anything?
Just stating from my perspective, this to me is clear as mud. To me, it just looks like another governmental agency trying to establish itself to tell boroughs and other municipalities what they can and can't do in their own towns with the own lands. I don't get this at all, so thank you for the question.
Thank you. Ms.
I don't have any comment.
Okay, I had a comment, and you said emergency medical services, okay? That's my baby. EMS, fire, police, ambulance, okay? I just noticed that in the home news that East Allen Township has now merging with Northampton Regional Ambulance.
Okay.
How do you see those services coming in to your plan? What did you mean EMS services?
So, one of the roundtables that we held did bring together different departments and municipal services. Many of the communities are covered by Northampton Regional Ambulance, and some have their own departments. But something that, there were a few concerns that came out of that, but one sort of global comment was different municipal services departments having the opportunity to coordinate more. And I remember the discussion including that because of capacity, sometimes certain departments would end up covering areas outside of their jurisdiction
Right.
because one service may not have staffing available to respond to that or may be busy elsewhere. So something that came out of that dialogue was the need to continue the dialogue, to meet more regularly and be more involved in like more processes so that those departments could be more aware of what was
Yeah,
going on.
volunteerism is dwindling,
Yes.
and it's getting harder and harder. Now, we're very fortunate to have an awesome fire department and fire police, but other municipalities are really struggling, and they're struggling with equipment,
Mm-hmm.
so,
We actually, remember a plan. I just want to show, so, in the plan, aside from the goals and policies, we also included, what we call special sections that highlight, so coordinated
right,
emergency
oh, okay.
management services was one of the special sections that we included, that kind of detailed a bit more, some of those concerns that arose. Funding and personnel was definitely one issue that arose. And the plan itself can't necessarily solve those issues, but it's sort of there to give municipalities this guiding document where as communities apply for grants or, no, that's a summary document,
Oh,
but
okay, it's in yours,
this is the
okay.
plan document.
Okay, yeah, that's really important to me because I just got a call from another municipality. How are we able to afford to buy fire trucks? And it's getting rough.
Mhm.
So I see coming down the line, a big merger.
Yeah, that was some of the conversation that we heard
Was
too,
it?
yeah.
The whole idea of the meeting was to sort of work a little more together, and actually at that meeting, there were a couple of like small problems that they all dealt with, and they solved them before the meeting was over. Like some of the EMS couldn't get into the trails because they didn't have keys to
Right.
get on, and before the meeting was over, we had people that had more control of those trails, and they actually provided them with keys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so they were working together immediately, even during the
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I was always concerned about the proliferation of the warehouses in our area and how they're taking over so much of the farmland and everything. And I know this plan does address that, but it seems like there's a tough dichotomy between promoting and coordinating the mixed transportation and the elimination of warehouses. Are there gonna be any big zoning changes that are gonna be promoted through this to eliminate the land for warehouses and, of course, necessary for your better traffic flow would be the elimination of those warehouses, which now you can see in Allen, East Down Township, that's gonna be coming through Northampton here,
Sure.
okay? And, you know, I've noticed in how it's been, traffic backs up more and more every day, and, you know, we're suffering that, you know, we have nothing to say about that proliferation. So how is this plan addressing that?
Sure, so, one thing that I just wanna mention is, so in the transportation plan, we have a transportation centers and corridors. And so this identifies, different roads that not only travel through each community, but also travel even beyond the communities into the adjacent communities. And I know Allen Township is one space in between even Northampton and East Allen that contributes to that issue that you mentioned as well. So this plan identifies some of the existing conditions on the roadway now and what sort of traffic it sees. And then as those discussions continue, as like what the traffic impacts are, like if the borough has conversations with PennDOT, for example, which I believe Route 29 is a PennDOT road, this plan can help support what the borough wants to see with managing freight traffic in those conversations, because then the borough has something to refer to PennDOT to say like we need to manage these sorts of, the warehouses are already there in these instances, so the roadways can help accommodate them. Usually you shouldn't develop without already having the infrastructure to accommodate them, but in this, like in a lot of the instances, they're already there. So what can be done, and working with other partners like PennDOT to manage that is one aspect of the plan.
Well, just driving out Allen Township yesterday, cresting the hill before Ace Hardware, then taking a left on Howard Town Road, there's no way that those roads are going to accommodate that traffic. And we already have traffic from FedEx that gets lost regularly through our town. Yet, we're going to have, there I believe are 5 warehouses out there now that sprung up literally overnight. And I know that sounds trite because we always hear that, but still, there's no way that those should have been approved in the first place because those roads aren't handling that traffic. How did that happen? And, you know, contacting PennDOT doesn't seem to be the answer.
Sure, and so that in and of itself won't solve the problems, but it might help manage and mitigate some of the impacts that are being seen and like felt by the communities. And that's one of the benefits of being in a multi-municipal plan, which Allen Township was invited to participate in the plan and declined. But being in a multi-municipal plan gives those municipalities to understand the impacts that those land use decisions have on their neighbors, and then gives those municipalities the opportunity to comment and say, our Route 329 can't accommodate what your Route 329 can, but the traffic has to go somewhere and it's gonna come here, so.
The plan is not a silver bullet, it's just.
Okay,
kind
yeah,
of paves the
that's
way-
understandable, Matt. That's
paves the way
understandable.
For you guys to be able to work together.
Sure.
And to address Mr. Lopsonski's concerns, you still retain all of your autonomy. You retain your own zoning, you retain your own planning, you still retain all that. All it is just sort of paving the way to work together if you want. So that no one tells you what to do, no one will change your zoning, and no one will change your.
Okay.
Well, I think the communication's been fantastic between the entities that are in this.
Yes.
So, and that's some great people in this, and it's fun to be working with it, so, you know, I like to see it succeed.
We've done a few
So-
of these, and you guys actually, for being it the first time, really kind of gelled pretty quickly.
Sure.
But it's not as easy, it's harder than you guys make it look.
Well, I know Jillian's been doing a lot for that, so,
Yes.
Thank
good
you.
job, Jillian. And Matt, same to you. Thank you.
Ms. Haldeman?
I'm trying to formulate a question. You know, there's so much information. I think, if I understand you correctly, in terms of helping design this plan, you're also there as an ongoing support system then to those municipalities participate, and perhaps when an issue arises in any, especially of these goals, and the goals are, while somewhat wide, they're absolutely, obviously, very time important types of goals are all the issues we're all addressing right now. But you will be there to support ideas, links, even potentially funding sources when we do want to address things, because obviously we're in the middle of a sewer upgrade that's near and dear to many of our hearts, and obviously warehouses are something that, you know, people are expressing a lot of concern about as they kind of surround us. So again, it's, you would be somebody you'd call and say, okay, well, this is what we want to do. Maybe you would say to us, this is who you would reach out to for a way to go. But the municipalities are working with us because we all kind of touch on one another with these issues. Do I
Yes.
have that right now? Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, that's kind of it for me then. I really want to continue to read this more and perhaps reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you very
Hall?
much.
Even if you weren't in a municipal plan, we're not a profit-making
Right,
organization.
right.
We're there as a resource anyway.
But you do seem to, you know, again, I've been reading a lot of your material lately, and your director and everybody work very hard and have obtained some impressive grants that are gonna benefit a lot of the Lehigh Valley, it would appear. And again, they're very, I just don't have the right words tonight, but issues that are just such hot topics right now. And so I think that, you know, it just seems that it will be beneficial to us to be knowledgeable about it so that we know what money to go after that is gonna benefit our town. I think that, you know, certainly zoning is a big issue. I think that we need to know so that, because if I understand it, changes in zoning allowed warehouses to proliferate. So we need to find out how to manage. Obviously, we want to live with them. People are tired of hearing about them, but they're here. They're not going anywhere. How do we work with that side of it now? But it does. It impacts so much of it. Traffic is, you know, all the things I'm sure you hear as you're out on your road show, so I won't go further into that. But again, it's nice to know that we have you as that resource for questions, answers, and direction.
Yes. Us, and then also, in the implementation sections of the plan, wherever we could, we did identify potential grant sources to
Awesome.
pursue for
Okay.
different topics, but also potential other partners, like
Okay.
the DNL folks, Chamber of Commerce, like other regional entities like
Great.
that have demonstrated interest in this specific plan as
Okay.
well, so.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Mr. Hall?
I hate to kick a dead horse, but Mayor Tony has a good, like you said, the warehouses are here. Traffic, and it's, this group is the smaller communities that's suffering, are going to suffer from that. We have already, we put this new bridge in, and the traffic's not allowed that way now, and I think it should stay that way, but that new bridge goes in, and you know where that new traffic's coming, and it just needs to be made sure that don't change just because the bridge is gonna be able to capacitate bigger vehicles and heavier vehicles. I think that needs to be stayed on top of and maintained, because the shortest point between A and B is gonna be that bridge and cutting through the town, and unfortunately, it's from the warehouses to that point is the breaking point where the traffic can't get through. I live along that route. I live in a route that jumps off of that 329 to get off the traffic that backs up outside our borough nightly. It uses the alleys as racetracks. And I'm one of everybody in my neighborhood that is constantly complaining and telling me that this is happening. And it's happening in other areas down in North Caddy because they're cutting through to get to FedEx because we're the recipient of those warehouses. So that's something I think we just need to keep on top. I'm glad the group's there, but like I said, with the transportation, keep on top of it. It's already not allowed to go across that bridge, and like I said, so when that bridge comes, make sure that we don't just say, well, now the bridge is here, now, here's a green light, so now to get to 145, there it is. So I don't think Cementon needs it, needs to be the recipient of that as well. Now, that's a different group, I'm sure, or Lehigh County, but they're gonna maintain and have the same problems. So I think transportation is a lot of it. I'm glad the group's there to hopefully stay on top of that. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, council. Any more questions for Jillian? Here we go.
For those of you who don't know me, Victor Rodique, community planner, terrible voice. I've been pleased to work with the committee.
Use the mic.
I've been pleased to work with Jillian and the committee on this comprehensive plan. I am not an official appointed representative, however, that's the mayor and Leroy. But I was pleased that my suggestions in the past have been considered. One was to have an economic development roundtable on Charette, and that turned out well. I'm pleased with it. But I put together kind of final 3 areas that I want to present to Borough Council. In the past, I just put my ideas out to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. They considered some and some they didn't. But I've written this up here. If you would pass by that way.
Thank you.
Pardon me.
It's a little late for this, Victor.
And here you go, there. Well, these are public comments. Oh, I have one for you. The first area of greatest concern, Ken Paul just spoke to. Over the years, Ken has suffered, and his neighborhood has suffered, with traffic problems. What happens is on 21st Street, the signals slow traffic down, and with more trucks, the efficiency and capacity of the street will go down. And so the situation is going to get worse, not better. Several years ago, our borough, in conjunction with Whitehall Township, sought to have a corridor study done of 329. We did not succeed, in part because the need for the plan was not documented in our local and regional reports. So, number one, if at all possible, give this topic an important place in our comprehensive plan. That is, to study the improved traffic flow on 21st Street. I'm not giving you the answers, but I'm saying an engineering company could. The second area is economic development and Main Street manager. This is near and dear to my heart, and so I've again reiterated some of the recommendations I've made before. So number 2 deals with that approach. And I take his name in vain, the mayor, saying, I feel that he is positioned ideally to help with this Main Street Manager program and maybe even head it. The third area has a variety of comments and suggestions. Some of them deal with recreation, and so I wanted to give you an example of what I was involved with in my home community. I live in Monroe County, Stroud Township, which was part of a multi-municipal planning program many years ago. I served on the Recreation Committee as it first started about 40 years ago. I served for 32 years in a row. Initially, there were no recreation areas and no programs. And now we have this. If there's someone here interested in recreation, I'll give it to them first. But this is our regional open space and recreation program. What does that have to do with the borough? The borough has excellent recreation facilities, but not many programs. That no summer program anymore, etc. This provides a way of funding and creating recreation activities in parks and trails. So is there anyone that would like to see it first? And then I'd recommend you pass it around. This is what can be done
Thank you, Victor.
through a multi-municipal approach. So that's all I have. I wanted you to have the sheet of paper
Okay,
and consider it as a citizen comment.
okay,
And then between now and the next month, when you seek to adopt the plan, you may want to include these or strike a few out. But I
have you
felt
told the
this,
PennDOT about this at all, have these roundabouts, because they're going that way now with roundabouts.
yes, they are.
But I would wonder what would happen to our business if they put a roundabout in there. What would happen to Asante's? What would happen to the businesses?
Would have to be eminent
It
domain.
could
Huh?
improve.
Would have to be eminent domain.
Exactly, so we would be losing businesses.
It could improve, but it has to be done very
Okay.
carefully.
Well, I
It
thank
can't
you for
be-
your comments, Mr. Rodick. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So, under new business, number 2,
Are we done with?
are we done, Jill? I'm sorry, Julia. I didn't mean to be rude. Do you have, I'm sorry, very sorry.
No, that's okay.
Did you have any other comments?
I think that, so that is it. I do wanna say, Victor, thanks for your comments, and I actually think that what is in the plan now already speaks to the majority, if not all of these things, but, we can speak more on that if
Okay.
needed, but,
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay.
I was like, okay,
That's okay.
thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Matt.
thank you.
Come again.
Great information.
Okay.
You're quite
Very nice.
welcome to come back.
Thank you.
Set up for nothing.
Yes. Oh, no, it's okay. Is it okay if I break this down here?
Sure.
No, you have to stay for this one.
You guys can continue on.
We want to watch Julian. Consider the request of St. John the Baptist Church.
We have received a request from St. John the Baptist Church to use our portable band trailer on Sunday, September 23rd, 2023, with a waiver of the rental fee. They will be required to provide a certificate of insurance naming the borough as additionally insured and pay a delivery and setup fee of $150.
What is the opinion of this council?
Make a motion.
Motion made
To-
by Ms. Haldeman,
Second.
Ms. Almond. Question?
Question, does the $150 pay for the labor and the overtime that we use on Saturdays? and
It's
Sundays?
what's in the, it's what we have listed in the resolution that adopted the fees. That is going to take some serious review for
Okay.
next year.
Thank you. Okay. Question was answered.
Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? The ayes have it. Next, we consider the request for the Borough of Bath.
We have received a request from Mayor Vito of Bath to use our portable band trailer for their Old Home Week celebration on Friday, August 11th and Saturday, August 12th in 2023. They will be required to provide a certificate of insurance naming the borough as additionally insured and pay a delivery and setup fee of $150.
What is the opinion of the council?
Make a motion to honor their request.
Motion made by Mrs. Almond. I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Over here.
I got it. Second by Mrs. Haldeman.
Congratulations.
Question?
She got married.
Sorry. Any questions here?
Question, Leroy, is how many people does it take for us to set this up? 2 to 3 people or more?
3 people, but generally 2 are summer help.
Okay,
Takes a Class A operator and 2 summer help.
okay, we get $150. Okay.
Any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Aye, actually, I oppose it.
You oppose it?
Yes,
Thank
I'd like
you.
to have that documented.
Mr. Glassick opposes. The ayes have it. Consider request of the Northampton Area School District.
Annually, Northampton Area School District requests that we make the recreation center available as a temporary mass sheltering facility. They are requesting this for the 2023-24 school year. In all the years that we have made this available, it has never been needed.
Thank goodness.
What is the opinion of the council?
Make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Hall,
Second?
second by Mr. Glassick. Question?
I have a question. I'm just wondering, how many years have we made this available? Ever since the rec center has been there?
No. I'd have to research that to tell you an exact number, but it's been, I'd say at least 7 or 8 years.
Is the community center too close to it?
Mm-hmm.
The community center is also a mass sheltering area. So
Okay.
is my church.
That's what I was thinking, but okay.
So is this, the rec center, is that just for the school district
Yes,
children?
yes.
Okay.
It's an agreement between us and the school district. It doesn't, the community center, when the pipes froze at Sacred Heart Assisted Living, the residents there were brought to the community center.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Consider the request to conduct the Equinox Music and Arts Festival.
We received a request from a group of individuals who are proposing to conduct a music and arts festival on Saturday, September 23rd in Municipal Park. They have requested and are willing to pay for any and all permits. However, for them or their vendors to offer items for sale, council permission is required according to our parks ordinance.
What is the opinion of council?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Lipsonsky. Do I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Hall? Question?
I have
I have a
questions.
question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But
I'm just wondering what kind of items they're planning on having for sale.
Let me see. Where's the paperwork on this? Let's see. Just says areas for artists and vendors to sell their work and merchandise. That's all it says, it does not elaborate. If you would like, we have plenty of time, we could table this and I could ask for clarification.
I would like that.
So would I.
I have another question though, if we can add to
Okay,
it.
go ahead.
According to the map that they have, it looks like they put food trucks in front of it and around the, is it the pump station?
The
I wouldn't
van
think, I wouldn't think according to the map that you should put food trucks in front of that, blocking that in case we would have to get to it.
Let me get my map out.
It's according to the map that I have in the packet.
Yeah, that would not be allowed.
Okay.
Once they would come to set up, we'd have somebody on site and say, that's no good. I can also let them know that.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, what, can I?
Okay,
can
yes,
I ask
ma'am.
mine? Do you know these individuals? Or
Nope.
they knew, they've never?
No, this
okay.
came as, it came in the mail.
Okay.
On Monday, we got it.
Yeah, I'd like a little clarification and to just even their kind of their celebration, just to be careful and alert to, I don't want to sound like I'm discriminating against anything, so please jump in with anything if I say anything inappropriate. But,
Who are they?
autumn equinox can bring, different types of celebrations. So I'd really like a lot of clarification as to who they are and what they are.
That's not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I will rescind my second.
I will rescind my motion.
Motion table? Okay. I think that might be it, right? Now we move to reports from council members. We'll start with Mr. Lipsonsky. Look to your right, Judy.
I was in attendance at the fireman graduation camp for the kids that went to the academy, as you want to say. There were 17 kids that were in attendance. Of that, I think they have recruited at least 2 into the various fire services or ambulance service or what. Is a nice group. I commend them highly. They did a hell of a job. It's something that not many people understand, and there's not many people that would be able to put together a program as they did. In recognition of the program and the things that they handed out, which probably came out of their coffers, I would like the borough to consider granting a $500 expense to that academy to help them defer some of the materials or obtain more materials than what they had. Because I do think it's a beneficial program. It was very good, and my granddaughter was there, and every Afghan in her house, there's about 7 or 8 of them, is folded as the United States flag. So she learned something and she took it to heart and is using it. She's very proud of that. Not many kids understand how to do it, why to do it, and how to accomplish it. So I would like to help them with at least a $500 donation to get training materials in advance of what they have. I believe that can come up on a separate time. We can put that on the agenda or however it wants to be handled. As I drive around town, I am filled with a very strong pride in this community. Not only for the way the community looks, but for the flags that now adorn our streets. And I would like to publicly commend Mayor Pristash for his endeavor in this. He took it upon himself, and he marched this little program down the street. And it is a success, because to have over 500 flags, was it?
300.
300? That's a hell of an accomplishment, and still coming. And people have been asking me how they can get it and where they need to go to procure that time of memorabilia for their relatives. As I drive down the street, I never really knew so many of the people that I was in contact with throughout the many years that I've been in this town were servicemen and what they did. But it makes me proud to see that they are being honored for what they do.
Thank you, Councilman.
You are graciously welcome. Again, Leroy, if you can have maybe the road crew with the arm cutter go down along the pathway.
Didn't they
and-
do that yet?
Yeah, they did it, but it needs to be done again. And I'd like to see it continue, so eventually it gets to be an open area, that it grows as an open area.
I might have to hop in that machine.
It's really nice.
It looks like fun.
I've seen many people sitting down on the benches looking out into the river instead of looking out into the leaves with all the bugs and spiders and whatnots on them. So it does make our park look a little bit more to produce good communications between the visitors and the borough. It's another thing that you can be very proud of. And I just want it to be done a little bit more so we can see how it goes and cut it down and make it look like a yard. That's the thing. And also too, again, I saw that they did it, but it is still in need at West 10th Street and Canal Street. On the turn from the bridge, there are sumac bushes that are growing. Traffic coming either way cannot see each other. And sometimes people are traveling in the middle of the bridge, in the middle of the road. And one day there's going to be a bump, and it may not be a nice situation. So if they can go down there and take care of that. If they have to, there's a program where you put on rubber gloves and boots and take an axe and a hatchet and a saw and do it by foot. So if they can clear that out, I think it's a benefit for the people of the borough that drive on those streets, that they don't run into each other. I have a note here, and I'm kind of like a little lost as to what I was attempting to say. Oh, now I got it. Along with the code enforcement, they sent notices around to a lot of people. One of the biggest ones that I was particularly warm at is now taken care of. Right at 14th and Main Street, where, I can't think of Frank's last name. The hedge fences were out into the street it's all cut back straight, flat, down, it's clean, it looks nice, and I'd like to thank the code enforcement people for doing that. If people can just also remember, your property if you don't know it, is an external vision of what you feel like inside. So if you're happy and you don't see the slop and the mess and the grass and the dirt and the poles and the garbage, wow. So clean your property up. Maybe with cleaning your property up, you may clean your soul up. And you may come out to visit community days, the fire department when they're doing their things, the ambulance corps when they have different things. So it kind of helps send a signal to what you think of yourself and your borough. And some people, I go back again, 107, 109 Laubach Avenue. If you want to talk about a jungle hidden in a borough, that's one of them. However, it is improving. But it's been 3 years since it's been improving. That place was a huge mess while I was still employed in the police department. And I am retired 18 years and that place didn't change, it got worse. But now, however, through the diligence of the code enforcement people and the court system, I believe the gentleman who owns the property has realized that going to the bank, removing money for fines, is probably not as good as cleaning it up and getting it taken care of. So one way or the other, it shall be done. You may be happy, or you may not be happy. That's not our problem. It's to keep the infestations down from the rats, the snakes, the groundhogs, the skunks that go into the neighboring properties' yards. That house is punishing the neighborhood by allowing all the vermin and whatnots to accumulate down there and walk around. It's now getting taken care of. Not at the rate that I would particularly like to see it, but at least it's being done and it's moving forward. I think maybe one or two more $1,000 citations will inspire him to get on the stick, so as it may be. I have extended my list of questions that I have. Yield back the balance of my time to the chair.
To Mr. Glassick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple different things here. I would like to thank the mayor for opening the ceremony at the community days yesterday. I believe it's the 47th? 42nd, I'm sorry. It was nice. It was very well attended right off the bat. I've seen a lot of people going over today. What's the status of the fire EMS memorial that's being built? I see anybody have an update on that?
I can speak to it a little bit, if you'd like an answer. It's signed off on. All the bricks are laid, but the engraved bricks are not yet done.
Okay.
He's at camp this week, so when he comes back, there was actually a brick that whoever requested it, there was a typo. They actually did it, and that's how they processed it, but the family's gonna have that brick done because they know so there's some things with the actual named bricks now, but those will be done. He's keeping me posted on a timeline because I certainly would like us to maybe be there or for when it's kind of
that's what I was
official.
looking at.
And he'll obviously earn his Eagle Scout project now or his Eagle Scout, that is, as he indicated to you, down in Lancaster, just because of where his troop disbanded to and where he kind of got picked up by his extended family. But anyway, so it is done, it is covered. He's happy to show it to anybody. I was there Monday to see it. It's all kind of lined. They have some ideas for ongoing ideas with the project and working with the fire department. But yes, the bricks, so they're kind of waiting on a few more of the engraved bricks. He's actually also reopening the sale of them so that if anybody would like to continue to buy them. And really, as he's done the project, there will be opportunity to kind of chip out, I don't know what you would call the blank bricks, and continue to add in that area. And I do believe the fire department has a plan to kind of work, and maybe Leroy can speak to that, or Kenny, that they're actually doing some additional kind of enhancements in that general area that they have plans for with
Yeah.
signage also. But, so he's essentially, I would say, Ron, like, he's 100% done with laying the foundation. He was there, I was there in the heat of it, and he was working through some thunderstorms. But the engraved bricks are not there to have the ceremony yet.
Okay, thank you. A couple other things, I guess 8th and 9th Street now are getting cut up, so I'm sure that we're gonna have Western Services digging that up, right, Leroy, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Are we still having Greg or somebody
Well,
follow up with?
Greg is on them as well as he can be. They're not always 100% responsive.
Okay, so, speaking of non-responsive, our garbage was delayed a couple times this last couple weeks. I know Leroy maybe will comment about that a little bit later, but I followed up with Republic this morning, talked to the general manager. Thank you, Megan, for forwarding the information to me. He was responsive, and I think one of the issues, because there's 3 sides to every story, you know, it's yours the way you see it and view it. I'm not saying that it's nothing wrong with it. It's theirs the way they see it, they view it, and they speak it. Nothing wrong with it. But the truth lies in the middle a lot of times. And they had an incident where they picked up garbage that somebody loaded up animal feces in it, and it literally blew apart when they threw it in the thing. Now again, did they throw it in hard? Did they know what's in it? No, they don't open bags and look in the garbage. And those feces flew on top of 1 or 2 other workers that were standing there at the truck, and they actually called it a day and they left. That's one of the reasons why it was delayed this week. But you don't know that unless you ask. But again, there's some common sense to be asked. You know, if you want your garbage to be picked up right, be respectful. You know, that's not a job that you would do or anybody really wants to do a lot of times. And when he told me that, it was kind of embarrassing, you know, that, you know, people would load up a bag with feces in there, and you know it rains, you know, it's garbage, I understand that, but maybe put it in a bucket. Do something that's common sense wise, so that we don't have a delay for hundreds of people with their garbage because of that situation. If that was you, you probably would have stopped working and went home and got cleaned up and made sure you were, you know, I guess
Healthy.
sanitized again, and healthy is a good word, yeah. So please, be respectful when you're putting your garbage out. I know they have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of opportunities to improve. We are on them. In fact, Megan's doing a great job putting the numbers together to get money back. But again, common sense on what we do and throw out there as a borough, as a resident. I know you pay for your garbage, and our garbage is extremely cheap compared to a lot of other places, so understand that. But I'm just trying to say, I'm not taking their side, I'm not taking our side, but it's the truth that lies in the middle, and we've got to be respectful how we do it. Couple other things. The weeds are improving, but there is still a lot of opportunities, please. I just want to make sure that there is a lot of opportunities, and I know they're busy, but there is some trees growing out of curbs. Enough of that. Victor, I think and I just want to comment that you write this bi-weekly report for the borough, starting to really dig into it. One of your questions that you had here is you would like the council person or the mayor of the borough to identify needed projects. I think we talk about it every other week, that we talk about the projects, the parks, the fences, the curbs, the sidewalks. So right there is just a handful of them, and that's just one thing. So please don't let time, you would say you would need one of us to tell you that. I think every one of us here can sit and say that our curbs, our sidewalks, our fences, our parks could use that. So please, anytime you can obtain a grant opportunity for any of the above or anything else, I don't know how we would ever refuse it. So please be aggressive and go after that. That's my thought on it, and thank you for your overview of the river plan and the 3 recommendations from it. That is the end of my report.
Well, thank you, Mr. Glassick.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Arman?
I have no report.
No report? Thank you. I'll go down to Mr. Hall.
Okay, I'm gonna pick up, I'll have a report like Tony. Okay, let's not forget the parade coming up. It'll be a good event on Saturday. It's at 5:30. It's gonna be a lot of fire trucks down prior. People can go down, climb on them, look and do whatever, the various departments. It'll be like an all-day event down there on Lurcher Miller and or Clear Springs for the day. The cadet program. I can only add to what Mr. Losonsky said, was that he can even witness where the kids really had fun. They did a couple challenges. They took a piece of equipment, like the Jaws or whatever, a piece of equipment that's made with tons of power at the tip for ripping cars apart. He had them picking up eggs on a cone and taking it, and you had to put it within that you didn't. We had nobody who, and some parents were invited to do it too, and nobody who could do it, because even the best one had a slight crack in it. Taking it off of one cone, bringing the tips in, and then taking it and transferring it, sitting on top of another cone. And nobody was success. Had a lot of crushed eggs. Had a lot of fun doing it, and the kids really did. There was a lot of good to come out of that. Also, just adding on his, with the weeds getting knocked down and the house is getting knocked down, I no longer have to tell them to cut the weeds down so I can check the flood gauge when the water's, because now you can actually see the flood gauge because all the trees are gone and the houses. The Eagle Scout project's going along really well, and she gave on that. The sign to be added, I think the sign's actually gonna come in before till he gets his project done, but the sign is actually coming in soon for the fire department as well. That's been given a date as to when that's coming. That's soon for come. Yellow curbs. Are we going to start marking yellow curbs? I know they're doing the white lines and the crosswalks, and is the curbing the next thing to be? There's quite a few and a lot of parking issues up in the first ward. I'm getting a lot of complaints. One of which, and I like the chief if he can, a lot of cars parking backwards on the street, on various streets. Some of them overnight. I know that you really don't allow. As for the curbing, I know it's a courtesy, but there, the certain issues that I was referring to that are just really, besides the highway going through the side of my house, the fact that they park right up to the thing. It actually slows them down, so, but it's, it's hard to see to get out. It's an accident waiting to happen. So I'm hoping that we can get on the curb. I know the summer helps here, so I see the yellow lines are getting done, and hopefully the white lines and the crosswalks and the yellow curbing will be the next thing on. And that's all I have in the report.
Well, thank you.
That's enough.
Ms. Holden?
I'm getting a little nervous because I'm the cleanup batter here, Mr. I need some help from Mr. Lovsonsky. I do have a few things. I too want to thank Code, but I agree with everybody, so I don't want to make this ad nauseum. But I continue to make the plea to curbs and sidewalks remain the responsibility of the homeowner. Also, they do look atrocious. I have been talking to Keith. He probably doesn't even want to take my phone calls anymore, but I do thank him because he's always responsive. Things may just not move as much, we all hear, they just don't move as fast as we'd like, which is always disappointing, and especially to the homeowners that are kind of suffering along with that poor upkeep. I've been at the pool. I want to commend how great the pool is this year. The paint seems to be working, so kudos to Public Works, to you, Leroy. I think I do. I can't say enough. The kids are happy. It looks great up there, and I know there's been a couple of incidents. I thank the police department for their presence. I think that our security gentleman who just bounces around with a spring in his step and a smile on his face, and I have watched him the days I've been there, approaching people, answering questions, just chatting. You see him come out immediately when a whistle is blown just to almost back up those lifeguards. I can't say enough. I hope people are taking advantage and the ones who are using our pool are happy with the results. I certainly am. And I thank you. I know we talked about it so much last year, and the weather was not the greatest, but it's certainly been warm the last couple of days, and it's just nice to see the kids having a good time up there. So thank you to everybody on that one. I had the opportunity to talk to Barry Frantz, who I believe was, really instrumental in getting this, the fire department activity going. And just listening to Barry talk about it with a smile on his face, he enjoyed it, I think, as much as the kids, and can't wait for next year and has even more ideas. And so I think it's great. I'm disappointed I wasn't able to be there on Saturday morning to see the kids graduate, but I think that was, the fire department's to be commended for that, because I too think that that's a nice summer activity for the kids in our town, and a great experience. They had great role models, great mentors, like you said, he did tell me they had people sign up, so that's all just great stuff. I did want, the one thing I did want to talk about though is, there was even a public comment, down where we had the issue with the pole that needed to be, and I always kind of stink at the street, but
22nd.
thank you, 22nd, and down at the bottom of the hill, Leroy, there's a huge part of the road that's kind of sinking in there.
Yeah,
Pretty
that
significantly.
has been pointed out to the developer, and they were instructed to make sure it is corrected.
Recently, because, yeah.
Yeah, this past week.
So we have time.
Yeah, I have a picture of it.
Yeah, okay. How much time do we give them? Because I
Not
really.
too much.
Okay, because I don't want it to go as long as the pole went. That was kind of a,
No, we'll fill it in, I'll send them a bill.
okay, because, yeah, I would not like to see, people swerving around, because you're really gonna bottom out when you kind of go over that area of
It's
the.
traffic calming.
Yeah, well, it does slow you down, that is true. I think that's it. Thank you very much. End of my comments.
Mr. Mayor?
It's not enough that our firemen come out voluntarily and fight fires and put their lives at risk. Now they have an academy which they take kids and give them something to do in the summer, build their pride. I happened to stop by, almost by accident, just driving through, and I stopped in and well-organized, the groups that were broken out, the kids were always having something to do, and geez, I'm gonna join next year just to get that cool T-shirt everybody got. So, kudos again to the fire company, because they put together one beautiful plan to help the kids feel the responsibility that it is to fight a fire and be a part of a group that does that. And secondly, to Councilman Wozanski's point about the trail and cutting back, there is a group that meets down at the gazebo at 9 o'clock for the coffee club. They bring their own folding chairs and everything, and they did request that we do trim the trees down so they can watch the bridge construction unabated. So I know that's a far reach, but it did give a couple laughs when I heard their comments about it. But still, there you go. People appreciating the trail even at 9 o'clock in the morning. Retirees coming down and making use of that gazebo, just bringing their coffee and their chairs and having a good time in the morning. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Madam President,
No, we
May
didn't
I
have
just-
announcements yet.
may I just have a question and a comment to add to Mr.
No.
Pristash's? Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Uh,
Mr. Wozowski.
I spoke with Representative Zach Mako this morning. He was there. He worked the jaws with the eggs,
Oh, okay.
and he was thoroughly impressed with the whole program.
Sure.
And he said that he is going to take it back to his congressional body to see if they can get it statewide.
Beautiful.
It made a very big impression on him, and he was talking about it for quite a while. So, thank you, man.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
even
Well,
the
you
march,
know-
one more thing, even the march, the lack of a flagpole that we could, with the project, the thing, they marched the kids all the way down to the rec center flagpole. And they literally marched, somebody had
Oh, my.
from the truck floor across the street, down to the flagpole, they did a flag raising ceremony, and then marched it back, so.
How sweet is that?
It was a day to.
It was really impressive.
It was.
Well, I'm impressed, but I would be remiss if I didn't read the fire police report, because I know what you guys do, and I appreciate that a whole lot. And we've been talking about the firemen, but our fire police were so involved also. In the month of June, they had 24 fire calls, 7 motor vehicle accidents, water rescue 1, EMS 2, special events 2, a total of 41 fire police activity for the month of June, with 156 responders, and they worked 218 hours and 20 minutes. Thank you, Kenny, for all that you put in there. You put in a lot of time. I appreciate that. Moving on to announcements, Mr. Brobst.
Well, I don't have a whole lot. With reference to the garbage, I did get a text this morning from Ron, and we commiserated over the fact that people weren't happy. I got in touch with Megan as soon as we got into work, and she provided Paul Tenby's telephone number, and Ron gave him a call, talked with him. In the meantime, I had Megan begin compiling a list of complaints that we had since the 4th of July, and she's still in the process of doing that. And we are going to provide that to Republic at $25 a miss. We did this once before, and it resulted in about $41,000 worth of money. The health inspector has done the inspections of the vendors at the across the street community days. There are 9 food vendors over there at $60 a pop. That was worth $540. All of them passed. Last thing, I'd like to welcome my granddaughter Hannah and her friend Finn, who rolled in Pennsylvania from Florida yesterday. They didn't have anything to do tonight, so I welcomed them to come here. And by the time I see them after the meeting, I'll probably get chastised for it.
Now he has to take you over there and buy you food.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, we'll go get some funnel cake.
Make sure he opens his wallet.
But good to have you here.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys.
Other than that, I do have one more thing. That fire school was just
Awesome.
something special. I mean, to give those kids an opportunity like that, and I'm sure it was, for many, I know it was once in a lifetime, unless they come back next year, but I think we'll probably have to turn people away next year or run 2 sessions.
That would be
Wouldn't
good.
that be, wouldn't that be?
Yeah.
would be good.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Other than that, I have nothing to add.
I have one question for Leroy. Anything on the application for a sewer employee because they lost one with
Yes.
possibility?
That will appear in next Thursday's, all of the Times News edition, and the following Thursday. Applications are due by Friday, August 18th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion by council member to pay the bills.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
Representative Glassett passed me a note that said, would we be able to pay all the bills that are outstanding that have cleared?
Don't blame him.
I don't know why you got it, but thank you, though. I'll take it.
Motion made by Mr. Lipsonsky, second by
Second.
Mrs. Lahman. Any question?
Of course.
I thought you asked.
No?
Yeah, more.
Just a couple comments. The power of purchasing, I thought the PPL, now it could be a lot more next month or next meeting, which is again in 2 weeks. But a $630 PP&L bill is outstanding. Hopefully the lights have been paying off and reimbursing some lower costs. Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you, thank you.
The storage, even though we had a lot of rain and then off some dry time, the waste management that we hauled out of here, again, this is a 2-week period. I was told several times by some of these sewer employees that just remember that's a 2-week number, is $14,167. So again, we're doing $25,000 to $30,000 a month on sludge. That's why the demand for a new sewer system and a new sewer plant is so important in this community. It's I hate to say, the life and blood of the borough, besides the water. I mean, you don't realize how important it is when you flush your toilet and turn on the spigot.
And it goes away.
Yeah.
It's magic.
There was a couple of questions about some bills, but Leroy answered them prior to the meeting, so I won't bore anybody and we can head out. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? The ayes have it. Motion
Motion to adjourn?
By Mr. Hall, Second by,
Me, I'll do it.
Second.
by Ms. Almond. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? The ayes have it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, you have another document to sign that
What's
Tony
that?